I've always been a bit of a troublemaker, but I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. It all started when my best friend, Jake, and I decided to sneak into the old, abandoned house at the end of our street. We'd heard rumors about the place being haunted, but we didn't really believe them. As soon as we stepped inside, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air was thick with dust and the floorboards creaked beneath our feet. We made our way up the stairs, our flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls. That's when we heard it, a low, guttural growl coming from one of the bedrooms. Jake and I exchanged a glance before slowly pushing open the door. There in the corner of the room was a figure hunched over, its back turned to us. We stood there, frozen in fear as it slowly turned around to face us. Its eyes were pitch black, and its skin was a sickly shade of gray. We ran, our hearts pounding in our chests, but no matter how fast we went, the figure seemed to be right behind us. We burst out of the house and into the street, gasping for air. But when we looked back, the house was gone. In its place was an empty lot, overgrown with weeds. I still don't know what we saw that night, but I know one thing for sure: I'll never set foot in that abandoned house again. Or was it ever really there at all? Okay, here goes. I've got a story for you that's going to make your skin crawl. It's about something that happened to me a few years ago, something I still can't explain to this day. So I was home alone one night, just watching TV, when I heard this noise coming from upstairs. It sounded like footsteps, but I knew I was the only one in the house. I tried to ignore it, but it kept getting louder and louder until it was right above my head. I was freaked out, but I knew I had to go check it out. So I grabbed a baseball bat and slowly made my way up the stairs. The closer I got to the top, the more I could hear this strange, scratching sound like something was clawing at the walls. When I got to the landing, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There in the corner of the room was this thing. It was hunched over with long, spindly arms and legs, and these glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce right through me. I froze, not knowing what to do. But then it started to move towards me, slowly at first, but then faster and faster until it was sprinting right at me. I swung the bat, but it was too fast. It knocked me to the ground and started clawing at my face, its sharp nails digging into my skin. I don't know how, but I managed to fight it off. I kicked and screamed until it finally let go, and then I ran. I ran as fast as I could, not looking back until I was outside in the safety of the streetlights. And that's when I realized something that still gives me chills to this day. When I looked back at my house, I saw that every single window was pitch black. Not a single light was on, even though I knew I had left them all on when I went upstairs. I never went back inside that house. I moved away the next day, and I've never been back since. But sometimes when I'm lying in bed at night, I swear I can still hear those footsteps and see those glowing red eyes watching me from the darkness. I've had a lot of weird experiences in my life, but nothing compares to what happened last summer. It all started when my family inherited an old, creepy mansion from a distant relative we barely knew. We decided to move in, despite the eerie vibes the place gave off. At first, everything seemed normal, but then strange things began happening. Doors would slam shut on their own, the temperature would drop suddenly, and I'd hear whispers in the middle of the night. I tried to brush it off, thinking it was just the old house settling or my imagination playing tricks on me. But then one night, I woke up to find a dark figure standing at the foot of my bed. It was tall and gaunt, with glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce through my soul. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The figure just stood there watching me before vanishing into thin air. From that moment on, the paranormal activity escalated. Objects would move on their own, and I'd feel cold hands grabbing at me when no one was there. My family thought I was going crazy, but I knew something supernatural was going on. Desperate for answers, I started digging into the history of the mansion. That's when I discovered a shocking secret. The relative who left us the house was rumored to be involved in satanic rituals and sacrifice. Locals claimed he had unleashed a demonic entity that was now haunting the property. Armed with this knowledge, I knew I had to confront the evil spirit. With the help of a paranormal expert, we performed a cleansing ritual to banish the demon back to hell. The process was intense, with objects flying around the room and the dark figure appearing one last time, but we ultimately succeeded. After that night, the paranormal activity ceased, and the mansion felt peaceful for the first time. But I'll never forget my terrifying brush with the unexplained. It's an experience that will haunt me forever. Hey guys, stop scrolling for a sec because this happened to me last week and I still can't explain it. I'm dead serious. It was 2 a.m., pitch black in my apartment. I live alone, you know? Just me, my cat, and a mountain of takeout boxes. I'm doom scrolling on my phone when I hear it, tap, 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 like fingernails on glass, coming from my bedroom window. At first I ignore it, probably a branch, right? But it gets louder, tap, 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 my heart's pounding now. I grab my phone flashlight, creep down the hall, the tapping stops. Dead silence, I peek around the corner, nothing. Windows closed, curtains still. Weird, but okay, back to bed. 2 minutes later, scratching, this time from inside the closet. No way, my cat's asleep on the couch. I freeze. Hello, I whisper like an idiot. Silence, then a low whisper, my name, clear as day. Jason, in a voice that wasn't human, raspy like wind through dead leaves. I'm sweating bullets. I back away, phone shaking in my hand. The closet door rattles, just a tiny creak at first, then it flies open. Empty, pitch black void. But in the mirror across the room I see it, a tall, shadowy figure behind me. No face, just eyes glowing red. It reaches out. I scream, bolt for the door, trip over my cat who hisses like she's possessed. I make it to the living room, lock myself in the bathroom. Heart exploding. I call my friend, nothing, no signal. Minutes drag like hours. Finally, I peek out. Apartment's empty. Closet door shut. No sign of anything. But here's the twist that haunts me. I check the security cam footage the next day. At 2:03 a.m., the closet door opens by itself, and there's no shadow in the mirror. But get this, the glowing red eyes. They were reflecting in my eyes, staring back at me from my own face. Was it me, some entity inside, or did it jump in? I moved out yesterday. Tell me, has this happened to you? What was it? Drop your theories below, I'm freaking out. Okay, listen up because this is gonna blow your mind. I still can't sleep thinking about it. Last month, I finally got around to cleaning out my grandma's old attic after she passed. You know, dusty boxes, faded photos, the usual junk. But then I find this locked metal tin tucked behind some insulation. Heart racing, I pry it open with a screwdriver. Inside, a stack of yellowed letters tied with a ribbon dated from the 70s, handwritten in my dad's shaky scrawl. The first one starts normal. Mom, I can't keep pretending. Pretending what? I keep reading. Turns out when Dad was 16, he got my aunt, his own sister, pregnant. Yeah, you heard that right, incest. They hid it, sent her away to boarding school, and she came back with a baby girl they passed off as a cousin who needed a home. That cousin, my older sister Lisa, the one I've shared holidays with my whole life. I'm shaking, flipping pages faster. Dad begs Grandma to keep the secret, says they burned all evidence, but Aunt died in childbirth, complications they covered up as an accident. Grandma's replies, cold, we'll protect the family at all costs. My whole childhood flashes, Lisa's weird distance from Dad, the family whispers when she got sick young. I confront Dad that night. He denies at first, face white as a ghost, then breaks down sobbing. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness, but Lisa. She's blood. But here's the gut punch that wrecked me. Tucked in the last envelope, a DNA test result from 2005. Grandma had it done secretly. Lisa's not the only one. Dad's my biological father, sure, but Mom, not my mom. I'm Aunt's daughter too. Grandma switched us at birth to fix their mess. I'm not just carrying the secret, I'm the goddamn secret. I haven't told Lisa. Dad's begging me to bury it again. Family at all costs, right? But how do you unlearn you're born from that? Would you tell her? Or let the dead stay buried? Drop your thoughts, I'm losing it here. Okay, guys, stop scrolling because this is gonna blow your mind. I grew up in this perfect little family, Mom, Dad, me, the golden child. But my grandma, she was always whispering secrets in the kitchen, staring at me like I was a ghost. Last month, she passes away and leaves me her old Victorian house. Score right? Wrong. I'm clearing out the attic, dusty boxes everywhere, and I find this locked trunk under the floorboards. Heart pounding, I pry it open. Inside, hundreds of photos of a baby that looks exactly like me. Same birthmark on the neck, same eyes, but it's dated 20 years before I was born. What the hell? Digging deeper, there's a birth certificate. My name, my birthday, but the parents, not my mom and dad. It's my grandma and some guy named Elias Blackwood, convicted murderer, escaped prison in the 80s. My hands are shaking now. Then I find letters. Grandma wrote to him in hiding. She's perfect, no one suspects. We switched her at the hospital. Your bloodline lives. Guys, I wasn't adopted. I was stolen. My parents knew the whole time. They were in on it to cover Grandma's affair with a killer. Dad's not my biological dad. He's just the guy who raised the changeling. I confronted Mom that night. She broke down crying. We did it to protect you from him. He's still out there. Protect me or protect their lie? Last week, a manila envelope shows up at the door, no postmark. Inside, a photo of me sleeping last night taken from inside my house. Scribbled on the back, "Time to come home, daughter." I'm barricaded in right now, phone in hand, wondering if I call the cops or... What? Is my real dad coming for me? Has he been watching my whole life? Drop a comment. What would you do? I'm freaking out. Like for part 2 if you want updates. Okay, guys, stop scrolling right now because this is gonna blow your mind. It's about the darkest secret my family ever hid from me, and I'm still shaking as I tell it. I grew up in this perfect little suburb with mom, dad, and my older sister Emily. Picture it, barbecues, family game nights, the works, but Emily was always off. She'd vanish for hours, come back with these weird bruises she blamed on falling off her bike, and mom would just hush it up. Dad, he worked late, never said a word. I was the baby of the family, clueless until last month when mom got sick, real sick, and made me clean out the attic for her hospital stay. First box I open, old photo albums, normal stuff at first, us as kids, but then I find these hidden Polaroids tucked in the back. Emily, maybe 10, standing next to this creepy guy with a scar across his face, both smiling like they're in on a joke. On the back, scrawled in mom's handwriting, "Don't let her find out, ever." My heart's pounding. I dig deeper, letters yellowed and tied with string. They're from Emily to mom, dated when I was a toddler. "He's coming for me again, tell him I'm gone, protect the little one." What the hell? I confront mom in the hospital that night. She's pale, tubes everywhere, but her eyes go wide. "Burn them," she whispers. "You don't understand." I don't burn them, I go home, keep snooping under the floorboards. Jackpot. A birth certificate. Not mine, not Emily's. It's for a boy named Jacob, born the same year as me, same hospital. But get this, listed father is that scarred guy from the photos. His name, Richard Hale. I Google him quick, local news from 20 years ago. Man wanted for child endangerment, suspected in string of abductions. He vanished after Emily's disappearances lined up perfectly. Mom finally cracks 2 days ago. Turns out Emily wasn't Dad's kid. She was Hale's from some fling Mom had as a teen. Hale was obsessed, kept coming back for her, roughing her up. When Mom got pregnant with me with Dad this time, she faked Emily's death to throw him off, staged a drowning, moved us states away. Emily played along, became the perfect sister to protect me. Hale's still out there, they think, watching. And the twist, yesterday a letter arrived. No stamp, just my name on it, inside. "I found my girls, see you soon. Love, Dad." Guys, that's his handwriting from the photos. He's here. What do I do? Call the cops? Run? Tell me in the comments. Am I safe or is this how it ends? Alright, so my friend Jake and I were hanging out at this old abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. We'd been dared to spend the night there by some of our classmates, and being the dumb teenagers we are, we thought, hey, why not? So we grabbed our sleeping bags, some snacks, and a flashlight each and made our way inside. The place was creepy as hell, all rusted metal and broken glass. We found a spot that seemed relatively clean and set up our stuff. We'd been there for maybe an hour, just messing around and telling stupid jokes when we heard this really weird noise coming from the other end of the warehouse. It sounded like a mix between a growl and a baby crying. Jake and I just looked at each other like, what the fuck was that? We decided to go check it out because, again, we're idiots. We slowly made our way towards the noise, flashlights pointed forward, hearts pounding. The closer we got, the louder the noise became, and the more it started to sound like someone whimpering. "You think someone's hurt in here?" Jake whispered. "I don't know, man," I replied, "but I don't got a good feeling about this." Finally, we turned a corner, and in the far back corner of the room, we saw this figure hunched over, shaking and whimpering. I couldn't tell if it was a person or an animal or what. We stood there for a second, trying to figure out what to do when suddenly, the figure whipped around and let out this ungodly scream. Jake and I both yelled and stumbled back, tripping over each other as we tried to GTFO of there. We made it out of the warehouse and booked it back to Jake's place. We never found out what that thing was, but I sure as shit am never going back to find out. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There in the middle of the forest was a figure cloaked in shadows. It stood still, almost as if it was waiting for something, or someone. I had heard the stories about this place, about the strange disappearances and the eerie sightings, but I never thought I'd actually encounter anything paranormal myself. I mean, I didn't even believe in that stuff, but there I was, face to face with, well, I don't know what it was. As I stood there, frozen in fear, the figure slowly turned towards me. Its eyes glowed an unnatural, piercing red. I felt a chill run down my spine as it started moving towards me, gliding over the forest floor without making a sound. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. It was like I was trapped in a nightmare, unable to wake up. The figure was getting closer and closer, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. Was this how it was going to end for me? Just when I thought it was all over, the figure suddenly stopped. It tilted its head as if it was listening to something, and then without warning, it vanished. It just disappeared into thin air. I stood there for a moment, trying to process what had just happened. Had I imagined the whole thing? Was it some kind of hallucination? But no, I knew what I saw, and I knew that I would never forget the unexplained encounter that had just taken place in those woods. To this day, I still don't know what that figure was. A ghost? A demon? Something else entirely? All I know is that it changed me. It made me question everything I thought I knew about the world and the things that lurk in the shadows. And I know that I'll never look at the forest the same way again. Hey guys, stop scrolling for a sec because this happened to me last week and I still can't sleep. Picture this. I'm home alone in my creaky old apartment. It's like 2 a.m. and I hear this faint scratching coming from the walls. At first I think it's mice or something, right? But it gets louder, rhythmic, like fingernails dragging slowly across plaster. I grab my phone, shine the flashlight around, nothing. Heart pounding, I press my ear to the wall in the hallway, and it's right there, inches away, scratch, 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 like someone's trapped inside, begging to get out. I freak, call my roommate who's out of town, but the line's dead. No signal. Okay, deep breaths, it's just paranoia. Then it stops, dead silence. I laugh it off, head back to bed. But as I'm drifting off, I feel it. The bed dips like someone just sat down, heavy breathing, hot on my neck. I freeze, pretend I'm asleep, but it whispers, "I've been waiting for you." Voice like gravel, familiar somehow. I bolt upright, empty room. Mirror across the hall, my reflection's not moving. It's smiling at me, teeth black, eyes hollow, scratching at the glass from the other side. I scream, smash a lamp over it. Glass shatters, but the scratching starts again, everywhere now, walls, ceiling, floor. Lights flicker, and in the chaos I see her face, my twin sister who died in childbirth. Mom never told me I had one. She mouths, "You took my life." Phone finally works. I call 911, cops come, say it's just nerves. But look at this pic I snapped. Zoom in, that's her handprint on my neck, cold as ice. And get this, the scratches, they spell her name in the wall. Am I crazy, or is she back for revenge? Drop a comment if you've had a dead relative visit. What the hell do I do now? Okay, listen up because this is insane. You're not gonna believe what I just dug up about my family, and it's got me questioning everything. Picture this, I'm your average 28-year-old guy, grew up in this cozy suburban house with mom, dad, and my perfect little sister, Emily. Family dinners, holidays, the works. No drama, right? Wrong. Last weekend, Dad asked me to clear out the attic for a yard sale. I'm up there, dusty boxes everywhere, and I find this old locked trunk under a tarp. Curiosity kills the cat, so I jimmy it open with a crowbar. Inside, a stack of yellowed letters tied with a faded ribbon, photos from the 80s, and a tiny silver locket with a curl of baby hair. First letters from Mom to someone named R. It's all lovey-dovey, but then it gets weird. I can't keep pretending. The night we buried it has to stay buried. Buried what? I flip through, more letters, dates matching when Mom was pregnant with Emily. One photo shows Mom, super young, holding a newborn that's not Emily. Wait, who is that baby? Heart pounding, I keep reading. Turns out Mom had an affair with this guy R, real name Richard, some drifter. They had a kid, a boy, but something went down. A letter from Richard. "You promised you'd never tell him about his real brother. The accident was our secret." Accident. There's a newspaper clipping tucked in, headline from 1992. "Toddler drowns in family pond, tragic mishap." Emily's 2 years younger than me. The dates. Oh God, that baby in the photo, it's Emily. No, hold up. The locket has an inscription, "For my son, forever hidden." My hands are shaking. Dad walks in, sees me with the trunk, face goes white as a ghost. He confesses everything. Turns out I have a brother, older by a year, Mom and Richard's kid. He drowned in our backyard pond when I was a baby. Dad covered it up, said it was an accident to protect Mom, who spiraled into depression and had Emily to replace him. They buried his toys, his memory, everything. And that locket, it was his hair. Dad kept it all to preserve the family. But here's the twist that wrecked me. Dad wasn't covering for Mom. He was the one watching us that night. The letters say Richard confronted him, they fought, and Dad pushed the kid in. My own father murdered my brother to keep Mom. He's been lying to my face for 28 years, and Emily, she's the replacement I never knew we needed. I confronted Mom last night. She broke down crying, begging me not to tell Emily. Dad's packing to leave. Am I wrong for wanting to go to the cops now? Family or justice? What would you do? Drop your thoughts below. This secret's out, and I need advice before I explode. I grew up in a small town, the kind where everyone knows each other's business. My family was no exception. On the surface, we seemed like the perfect all-American household. But behind closed doors, there was a dark secret that haunted me for years. It all started when I was about 10 years old. I remember waking up in the middle of the night to strange noises coming from downstairs. At first, I thought it might be a burglar, but then I recognized the voices. It was my parents, and they were arguing about something. As I crept closer to the staircase, I could make out bits and pieces of their conversation. "We can't keep this hidden forever," my father said. "Eventually, someone will find out." "No one will ever know," my mother replied. "As long as we keep quiet, we'll be fine." I was confused and scared. What were they talking about? What was this terrible secret that they were so desperate to keep hidden? It wasn't until several years later that I finally discovered the truth. One summer evening, I was exploring the attic when I came across an old wooden chest hidden beneath a pile of dusty boxes. Inside, I found a stack of letters and documents that had been carefully tied together with a ribbon. As I read through them, my heart began to race. It turns out that my parents had been living a lie for years. The letters revealed that my father had been having an affair with a woman from a neighboring town. What's worse, the woman was pregnant with his child. My mother knew about the affair but had chosen to keep it a secret in order to protect the family's reputation. At first, I was angry and disgusted by their actions. But as the years went by, I began to understand why they had done what they did. In a small town like ours, something like this could have destroyed us. People would have talked, and my family would have been shunned by the community. So we all kept quiet. We went about our lives as if everything was normal, but deep down, we all knew the truth. It was our dark family secret, and it would haunt us forever. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other's business. My family was no exception. From the outside, we seemed like the perfect family: mom, dad, and 2 kids. But what people didn't know was that we harbored a dark secret. It all started when I was about 8 years old. I remember waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. At first, I thought it was just my parents going to the bathroom, but then I heard a door creak open and a muffled conversation. I crept out of my room and saw a dim light coming from the guest room down the hall. I tiptoed closer, my heart pounding, and peeked through the crack in the door. What I saw made my blood run cold. My father was sitting on the edge of the bed, crying, while my mother comforted him. At first, I thought maybe someone had died, but then I noticed something else in the room, a strange symbol painted on the wall in what looked like blood. I ran back to my room, shaking, and tried to forget what I saw. But the next day, my father acted as if nothing had happened, and I couldn't bring myself to ask him about it. As the years went by, I started noticing more and more strange occurrences. Objects would go missing and then reappear in different places. Doors would slam shut on their own, and sometimes I would catch a glimpse of a shadowy figure out of the corner of my eye. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't until I was 16 that I finally got the courage to confront my parents about what I saw that night. At first, they denied everything, but when I mentioned the symbol on the wall, my mother's face went pale. She looked at my father, who sighed heavily and nodded. They told me that our family was cursed. Generations ago, one of our ancestors made a deal with a demon for wealth and power, but in exchange, every firstborn child would belong to the demon on their 18th birthday. My father was the firstborn, and he had been trying to find a way to break the curse before it was too late. They had hoped to spare me the truth, but now that I knew, I had to help them find a way to break the curse before my 18th birthday. I was shocked, but also relieved that I finally knew the truth. We started researching every book on the occult we could find and even consulted with a few experts in the field. But as my birthday grew closer, we still hadn't found a solution. The night before my 18th birthday, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing strange noises and seeing shadows moving in the corners of my room. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and I saw a dark figure standing at the foot of my bed. As I screamed, my parents burst into the room and my father threw a book at the figure. The book burst into flames and the figure vanished. We realized that the book was the key to breaking the curse. It was the demon's ledger, containing the names of all the souls he owned. With trembling hands, we opened the book and found my name on the last page. My father took a deep breath and ripped out the page, then threw it into the fire. As the paper burned, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, and I knew we had finally broken the curse. It's been years since that night, and I still get chills thinking about it. My family never spoke of it again, but I know we'll never forget the dark secret that almost destroyed us. I've always been fascinated by the paranormal, but nothing could have prepared me for the night that changed everything. It was a stormy evening, and I was walking home alone when I decided to take a shortcut through the old, abandoned cemetery. As I made my way through the overgrown grave markers, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching me. Suddenly, I heard a twig snap behind me, and I spun around to see a shadowy figure dart behind a tombstone. My heart raced as I slowly backed away, keeping my eyes glued to the spot where the figure had disappeared. Then, a cold, bony hand gripped my shoulder from behind. I screamed and whirled around, but there was nothing there. I ran as fast as I could, my feet pounding against the wet grass, until I reached the edge of the cemetery. As I looked back, I saw a ghostly, glowing figure rise from one of the graves and float towards me. It was the most terrifying thing I had ever witnessed. But as the figure drew closer, its features became clearer, and I realized with a shock that it was my own face staring back at me. The ghostly doppelganger reached out a hand, and I felt an icy touch on my cheek before everything went black. When I came to, I was lying in my bed at home, the storm still raging outside. Was it all just a dream? Or was I really confronted by my own ghostly twin in the cemetery that night? I may never know for sure, but one thing is certain: I'm never taking that shortcut again. So my friends and I were sitting around one night, bored out of our minds, when someone had the bright idea to go explore this abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. Apparently, it used to be some kind of chemical plant, but now it's just this massive, rusting eyesore that everyone avoids like the plague. Anyway, we grabbed our flashlights and hopped on our bikes, pedaling out there like a bunch of moths drawn to a flame. When we got to the fence, it was all bent and mangled, so we slipped through easily and started wandering around the property. Inside, the place was a mess. Broken windows, graffiti everywhere, and this weird, chemical smell that made our eyes water. But we kept going deeper into the building, our flashlights cutting through the darkness, until we found this room full of old machinery and pipes. That's when my genius friend decided it would be a great idea to start climbing up one of the rusted ladders on the wall. He was about halfway up when all of a sudden, we heard this loud groaning sound, and the ladder started to pull away from the wall. My friend panicked and tried to scramble down, but the whole thing just crumbled beneath him, sending him crashing to the floor in a cloud of rust and dust. For a second, we all just stood there in shock, staring at him lying on the ground. But then he started laughing, and we couldn't help but join in. We were all cracking up so hard that we didn't even notice the security guard until he was right on top of us. He started yelling at us, telling us we were trespassing and that he was going to call the cops. We bolted for the exit, grabbing our friend and hauling him along with us. We didn't stop running until we were back at our bikes, hearts pounding and lungs burning. Looking back, it was pretty stupid and dangerous, but damn if it wasn't one of the most thrilling nights we'd had in a long time. It was like 2 a.m. on a dead Saturday, me and my 3 dumbass buddies crammed in my beat-up truck, cruising through these sketchy back roads because boredom had us by the balls. We'd polished off a case of cheap beer and were out of ideas when we spotted this massive abandoned quarry. You know, the kind with sheer cliffs dropping 50 feet into black water, chain-link fences ripped open like an invitation. My idiot friend Jake slams on the brakes and goes, "Bro, what if we cliff dive into that pit?" Midnight cannonballs. It was suicidal, signs everywhere screaming, "Deadly drop, no trespassing," water probably freezing and full of rusted junk. But adrenaline's a hell of a drug, so we parked, grabbed our phones for light, stripped to boxers, and charged the fence like morons. We scrambled to the edge first, hearts pounding, peering down into that inky void. Wind howling, crickets screaming, total horror movie vibes. I went first, yelling "Cowabunga!" as I leaped, tucking into a flip. Hit the water like a brick, ice-cold shock straight to the nuts, bubbles everywhere, paddling up gasping. The guys followed. One did a perfect swan dive, another belly flopped so hard I heard the splash echo off the cliffs. We were whooping, splashing like kids until dipshit Mike yelled, "Race to the bottom!" The quarry sloped down underwater, pitch black. We dove deep, fumbling blind, lungs burning, bumping rocks that felt way too sharp. Panic hit when I surfaced, no one else. "Yo, where are you idiots?" Nothing but waves lapping. Then bubbles exploded, Jake pops up choking. "Something grabbed my leg." Bullshit, probably weeds, but now we're freaking, thrashing around. That's when we hear it, engines revving, spotlights slicing the dark. Quarry security, 2 trucks roaring up, dudes with flashlights and radios yelling, "Get out or we're calling COPS." We booked it, slipping on wet rocks. One guy lost his phone to the depths. Climbed that fence with jelly legs, sprinted to the truck as beams swept inches from our asses. We peeled out laughing hysterical, soaking wet, shivering like bitches. Closest we've come to drowning or jail since that roofie incident. Never again, until next weekend. Yo, have you ever woken up at 3 a.m. with your dumbass friends like, "Bet we can sneak into that old quarry and cliff jump into the water without getting arrested"? Yeah, that's exactly what happened last summer, me. Jake the idiot who thinks he's Bear Grylls, and Tyler, who's allergic to shirts and good ideas. We grabbed a 6-pack of the cheap beer that tastes like piss, hopped the rusty fence under a full moon, flashlights bouncing like we're in some zombie flick. Quarries this massive hole, walls like jagged teeth, bottoms a black lake that smells like wet dog and regret. First jumps from like 10 feet, splash, hilarious, waters freezing my nuts off, but we're hyped, chugging beers, yelling, "King of the quarry," like morons. Then Jake, that absolute legend/menace, spots this higher ledge, maybe 30 feet up, covered in graffiti from other dumb teens. "Easy peasy," he says, strips to his boxers. Dude's got a tattoo of a pizza slice on his ass and bombs it. Hits the water like a cannonball, comes up laughing, but Tyler's turn and he chickens out halfway, slips on the wet rock, slides down ass first, screaming like a girl. We're dying, filming it on my phone, water's splashing everywhere. Escalation hits when we hear engines, fucking security trucks circling the fence. Lights sweeping, spotlights like prison break. We book it up the quarry wall, barefoot on sharp rocks, cutting our feet to shit. Tyler drops his phone in the water, gone forever, and Jake's yelling, "Go, go, go," while I'm huffing like an asthmatic walrus. We dive behind these boulders just as the spotlight hits our beer cans, glinting like traitors. Heart pounding, we're whispering, "Shut up, shut up," covered in mud, half naked, when Tyler farts so loud from the beer it echoes off the walls. Guards hear it, start yelling, "Who's there?" We bolt, slipping and sliding. Jake trips into a thorn bush, rips his leg open, blood everywhere, but he's cackling. Fence is electric now. Now we power through, snag our shorts, sprint 3 blocks to Tyler's beater truck, peel out with mud flying. Cops never caught us, but Jake's leg got infected, had to lie to his mom about bike crash. We're scarred, broke, and banned from the quarry forever. Moral, now we're doing the old mill next weekend. Bring your own bandages. I was scrolling through my social media feed one night when a post caught my eye. It was from a user who claimed they had uncovered a wild conspiracy theory that would blow my mind. Intrigued, I clicked on the link and started reading. As I delved deeper into the post, I learned that this theory revolved around a secret society of powerful individuals who controlled the world from the shadows. The user provided evidence of their existence, pointing out strange coincidences and hidden messages in popular media. The more I read, the more convinced I became that there was something to this theory. I spent hours poring over every detail, my heart racing with excitement and fear. It was like I had stumbled upon a dark truth that few people knew about. Suddenly, a notification popped up on my screen. It was a direct message from the user who had posted the theory. They wanted to meet in person to share even more shocking information. My curiosity got the best of me, and I agreed to the meeting. We arranged to meet at a secluded park late at night, and as I made my way there, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. When I arrived, the user was already waiting for me on a bench, their face obscured by a hood. They leaned in close and whispered something that sent chills down my spine. They claimed that the secret society was aware of their online activities and was now watching them closely. The user feared for their life and wanted to pass on their knowledge to someone else before it was too late. As they handed me a USB drive containing all their research, a sudden noise echoed through the park. The user's eyes widened in terror and they bolted into the darkness. I stood there, stunned, clutching the USB drive. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized I had just become a target. Now I'm left with a choice. Do I continue down this rabbit hole, risking everything to expose the truth? Or do I walk away and hope that the secret society never finds me? I was 8 years old when I first heard the rumors about the old abandoned house at the end of our street. The grown-ups would whisper about the family that used to live there and how they all vanished without a trace one night. My friends and I were obsessed with this story, and we would dare each other to get as close as possible to the house. One day after school, we decided to actually step inside. The door was unlocked, and as we walked in, we felt a chill running down our spines. The air was heavy, and the house seemed to be frozen in time. Dust covered every surface, and the furniture was shrouded in white sheets. We started exploring, and as we reached the living room, we noticed something strange. There were 6 plates on the dining table, still filled with food, as if the family had just disappeared in the middle of dinner. Things got weirder when we found our way to the master bedroom. On the dressing table, there was a set of human teeth, carefully arranged in a circle. We were terrified, and we ran out of the house as fast as we could. But the nightmare didn't end there. Over the next few weeks, I was haunted by the image of those teeth. I couldn't sleep at night, and during the day, I would see them everywhere in my cereal, in the sink, in my backpack. And then one day, I finally found the courage to go back to the house and confront my fears. As I walked through the rooms, I kept thinking about the family and the mystery of their disappearance. And when I reached the master bedroom, I lost my breath. The teeth were still there, but this time they were accompanied by a note written in red ink. It said, "Welcome home, Timmy." I stood there frozen with terror as I heard footsteps behind me. A cold hand touched my shoulder and a voice whispered in my ear, "We've been waiting for you." I turned around and I was face to face with my own reflection. But it wasn't just me, it was 6 versions of me, all standing in a circle holding hands. That's when I realized the truth. The family that had vanished without a trace was my own, and the 6 plates on the dinner table were for each one of us. And as I looked at the mirror, I understood that I was never really alone. The other versions of me had been there all along, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. And now that I had finally come home, we were a family again, ready to start a new life in the old abandoned house where we belonged. Or so I thought. Yo, you ever sneak into an abandoned psych ward at midnight with your 3 dumbest friends and think, this'll be lit? Yeah, me neither, until Jake dared us, that fat legend with the energy drink addiction. So it's me, Jake, Skinny Mike who's scared of his own shadow, and Brittany, this chick who thinks she's in a horror flick. We're 16, hyped on Monster and TikTok ghost challenges, parked the Civic behind some bushes off the highway. The place is this massive brick shithole from the 70s, windows smashed, graffiti everywhere saying demons live here in what looks like actual blood, probably ketchup, but who cares? We hop the fence, Jake goes first and immediately rips his jeans on the barbed wire, mooning his giant white ass to the whole county. I'm dying, filming it. Bro, your crack's glowing under the moonlight. Inside, it's pitch black except for our phone lights. Dust everywhere, smells like moldy feet and regret. We find these old patient rooms with graffiti hearts and Billy was here 1982. Escalation hits when Mike steps on a loose floorboard, crack, and his foot punches through right up to his knee. He's screaming like a banshee, "My leg, it's haunted." We yank him out, Splinter City, but Brittany's all, "Shut up, pusses, let's find the electroshock room." Stupid decisions, level 10. Deeper in, shit gets real absurd. We stumble into what used to be the cafeteria, tables flipped, but there's this one corner with a pile of ancient porno mags from the 80s, all sticky and faded. Jake grabs one, jackpot, and starts posing like a douche humping a chair. I'm cracking up, but then bam, door slams shut behind us. Wind, nah dude, we hear footsteps, heavy, thudding, coming closer. Lights flicker on our phones, shadows dancing like some poltergeist rave. Mike's whispering, "Abort, abort," but Brittany's egging it on, "It's just raccoons, bros." Tension peaks when the footsteps stop right outside. We huddle, hearts pounding, and this massive raccoon, eyes glowing red from our flashlights, bursts through a hole in the wall, hissing like Satan. Jake swings the porno mag at it, pages flying everywhere, and it chases us straight out the way we came. We book it, tripping over junk, Jake's ass still half out, Mike crying actual tears. We vault the fence, pile into the car, peel out laughing our asses off. Best night ever. Nah, but Jake still got raccoon rabies scars. Don't try this at home, idiots. Alright, so listen up. You're not gonna believe what happened last night. I'm talking about the kind of shit that'll make you question your sanity. So there I was, hanging out with my boys, Jake and Liam. We were bored as hell scrolling through TikTok when suddenly this video pops up. It's some dude exploring an abandoned asylum and we're like, dude, that's sick. We gotta check it out. Fast forward an hour and we're standing in front of this creepy-ass building, armed with nothing but our phones and a couple of flashlights. We're all excited, but deep down, I'm shitting bricks. We make our way inside and it's like stepping into a horror movie. Everything's dark, dirty, and just plain fucked up. We start exploring and that's when shit gets real. Out of nowhere, Liam screams like a little bitch, and we all nearly piss ourselves. Turns out he just tripped over a fucking rat. But then, we hear this noise coming from upstairs, like something dragging across the floor. At this point, I'm ready to run for my life, but Jake's like, "Nah, bro, it's probably just the wind." So we keep going, and that's when we find this room that looks like a torture chamber. There's blood stains on the walls, and these weird-looking tools scattered everywhere. We're all freaked out, but we can't stop laughing because it's just so insane. That's when we hear footsteps behind us. We freeze, thinking we're about to get murdered by some serial killer. But when we turn around, it's just a homeless guy looking as scared as we are. We haul ass out of there, laughing and screaming like maniacs. And as we're driving away, we can't help but think, what the fuck did we just do? Moral of the story, don't be a fucking idiot like us. But hey, at least we got a cool story out of it. I've got a story for you, and I swear it's true. It happened to me a few years ago, and it still gives me chills to this day. I was walking home from my friend's house late one night, taking a shortcut through the woods. The path was familiar, but in the dark, everything felt eerie and unsettling. The moon was full, casting long shadows through the trees, and the wind whispered through the leaves, almost like it was trying to warn me of something. As I made my way deeper into the woods, I started to feel like someone or something was watching me. I'd glance over my shoulder, sure I'd see someone there, but every time there was nothing, just the trees and the shadows. But then I heard it, a twig snapping behind me like someone had stepped on it. I spun around, but again there was nothing there. I quickened my pace, my heart pounding in my chest. That's when I saw it, a figure standing in the path ahead of me, shrouded in shadow. It was tall and unnaturally thin, with long, spindly arms that seemed to stretch out towards me. I froze, too terrified to move, as it started to walk towards me, its movements jerky and unnatural. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't listen. It was like I was rooted to the spot. And as the figure drew closer, I saw its face. Or rather, the lack of one. Where there should have been eyes, a nose, a mouth, there was only smooth, featureless skin. I don't know how I managed it, but I finally broke free of my paralysis and ran. I ran faster than I'd ever run before, my lungs burning, my legs aching. I didn't dare look back, not until I'd burst out of the woods and onto the safety of the street. When I finally looked over my shoulder, there was no sign of the faceless figure, but I knew what I'd seen. And to this day, I can't shake the feeling that whatever that thing was, it's still out there in those woods. And maybe next time I won't be so lucky. I've always been the black sheep of my family, you know? The one who never quite fit in, no matter how hard I tried. It wasn't until a few weeks ago that I found out why. I was going through some old boxes in the attic, looking for something to sell so I could make rent when I stumbled upon a locked chest. Of course, this only made me more curious, so I searched high and low until I found the key. Inside the chest were stacks of letters and photographs, all bound together with a red ribbon. Now I know what you're thinking. Wow, what a cliché. But bear with me. I picked up the stack and started reading, and the more I read, the more my blood ran cold. The letters were from a man I'd never met before, but it was clear he knew my parents. He kept referring to a deal they made, something about a trade-off for their success. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was right there. My parents, the pillars of the community, had made a pact with the devil. Suddenly, everything made sense. Why they always seemed to have everything they wanted while I struggled, why they never seemed to age. It all clicked. But that's not even the worst part. The last letter in the stack was different from the rest. Instead of being written to my parents, it was written to me. I could barely read through my shaking hands. The letter explained that I was part of the deal too, that my soul had been promised to the devil in exchange for their success. As I finished reading, I heard a knock on the door. I looked out the window and saw a figure in a black cloak, red eyes shining through the darkness. I froze, my heart pounding. I knew I had to face this to break the cycle and free myself from this curse. But how? The figure knocked again, louder this time, and I knew I had no choice. I walked down the stairs, each step heavier than the last, and opened the door. And there, standing in front of me, was my brother. He looked different, older, but I'd recognize him anywhere. He'd been missing for years, and we all assumed he was dead. But there he was, as real as could be, sobbing in my arms. He told me he'd been on the run all this time, trying to escape the same fate I'd just discovered. He'd come back to save me, to break the curse once and for all. And so we stood there, united against the darkness. We knew it wouldn't be easy, but we also knew we had each other. And sometimes that's all you need.